We're gonna make shakshuka today. It's the most dangerous thing that you can make when you're wearing white. So, of course, my apron is white and my clothes are white in a bid to stain everything I own. Shakshuka is a polarizing dish, which I got two buddies. One of my buddies is named Reed, and he's like, you have to make this. This is one of my favorite things. Another buddy of mine is named Hero, and he's like, what's the deal with shakshuka? It's garbage. But look, it's not my fault that Hero doesn't like tomatoes. Hero, you're an idiot. Actually, Hero is brilliant. Let's go over the ingredients here. The first two are cherry tomatoes, because it's a nice sweet tomato that you can get any time of year. Any ripe tomato you can get is good. Just make sure that it's ripe. Peppers. I actually don't know what breed of peppers these are. You can use bell peppers, even though they're not my favorite, but they work great in this dish. You want them to be sweet, not spicy. So that's why bell peppers work. You want them also to be ripe. That means they should be orange, red, or yellow, not green. I also have a Fresno chili pepper, and the reason for that is I want to get just a little bit of extra heat in there. So that's what this little guy's doing. Onions, another important part of this dish. Just brown or yellow onions are great. They will help make it sweet because we're going to char them. Then we're going to go with some berbere. This is an African spice blend. You would use the same way you might use paprika or harissa. It's warm, it's spicy, it's wonderful. You can find it at a local Ethiopian food restaurant if you want a really good one. But you know what? You can get it at your local market as well. I got this, I think it's just a generic brand. You can definitely get it online. Fresh thyme. I just love thyme. I don't know what else to say. It gives things that musky, herby deliciousness. An egg, or many eggs. You can also use soft tofu. It goes great in this dish the same way soft tofu goes great in Korean soup that I can't pronounce the name of.
It's called sundubu jjigae. It's a dish more popular for Korean Americans rather than in Korea. It's been popularized by Beverly sundubu in Koreatown in Los Angeles.
It's just a great way to go, and that way you can serve all your friends regardless of their dietary restrictions unless they don't like tomatoes, Hero. We're gonna slice everything today because that's what gives this dish the best texture. We chip off the tips, chop off, set them aside. You should chop down this way because now it's not rocking either way, and you can just do this without ever having to worry. And then we can peel off the outer skins again. Look at that, onions. Peel away the layers and there's nothing inside. And there you go.
Do you cry when you cut onions?
Yes, I do. It makes me really sad. I know. Oh, rinse everything off immediately after cutting the onions. If you put your onions in the refrigerator, it won't get to your eyes as quickly, and that's a good thing. Dry your cutting board because you do not want moisture getting in there. It will eventually cause the board to split apart, get unhappy, and blame you for all the problems in its life. So we got our sliced onions. We will set them aside, and now it's time to work on the peppers. Cut off the top, then cut it in half. Then I can take this bad boy over to my trash bowl, peel out the inner pith and seeds, and if I want to get rid of more seeds, I can just rinse them off in the sink. And then we repeat with the other peppers. Nobody likes a pithy bastard. You know, maybe these are bell peppers, Alex. That's fine. I can eat my nemesis every once in a while, as long as he's not eating me. And we also want these in strips. Whatever you like to do, maybe this side, because...
I like the other side because it's less slippery.
Ooh, that's a good...
The knife is less likely to slip.
That's a good point. Let's listen to Alex, folks. Go with Alex's ideas, because they'll always work out in the end.
I don't know about that.
Except when they don't, and your dog dies. Finally, I have this little Fresno pepper and my glove, my makeshift glove. We cut them the same way that we cut their larger brethren. Why did I throw this away?
You should always cut spicy peppers skin up because you don't want the juice squirting up at you. And if you don't know,
now you know.
You gotta balance between cutting your finger and spraying yourself in the eye.
I would rather spray myself in the finger if I had those options. I use by weight about the same amount of onions, peppers, and tomatoes. Now, you can adjust the recipe to your liking after you've made it the first time and kind of get a feel for how it tastes. I can
Adjust, customize.
Yes, you can customize it as per your liking. If you are outdoors and have an outdoor kitchen, you rich motherfucker, then you're good. If you're indoors like me and you don't have a hood, I don't know why, but our hood doesn't even do anything. It just blows right back in the room. It just takes the smoke and blows it right out. You're gonna wanna open a window. So some ingredients I didn't talk about because I don't know what my problem is. You're gonna want oil for the pan. About a tablespoon of neutral oil, so I'm just gonna use vegetable oil. If you use fancy olive oil with this, you're just gonna waste it because it'll just cook off the flavor. One other ingredient I'm gonna add a little bit of towards the end of charring these is some brown sugar. Just a little bit. I mean, maybe a teaspoon. We're gonna pick our guinea pig, When you're trying to get color on the peppers and on the onions, you just want the largest pan you have. If I had a paella pan, I'd be using it right now. I just don't. I don't. It rusted after I moved because I wasn't taking care of it. So if you do get a paella pan, be a better father to it than me. Do do de do do de do do de do 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 de do do de. Get hotter. What's with this lollygagging around? Come on. Do better. It's still not as hot as I'd like it, but I think that's just because I'm using a crappy stovetop. You hear that, building management? Yeah, that's what we want to hear. You want a strong sizzle. I'm gonna just do half of the onions at a time because otherwise there will be too much in the pan for it to really, get where I want it to be. And a small pinch of the cumin seeds. Get a little bit of salt in there. Have them stay there for a few minutes before you toss them over because you really want to get that color on them. And if you disturb them too much, they're not going to get where you want them to be. So you're going to start to smell a little bit of char on these. And when you look and see, like if we look at this guy right here, there's a little bit of brown that's starting to show up. Now we know it's time to toss them around a little. So if I flip them, I'll be able to see that there's some color on these. And it's exactly what I want. And then we wait again. Look at this color. And you can start to smell a little bit of just a slight amount of char showing up. And this is why we open the window. As the batch starts to get like this, when the onions are almost translucent and they're brown around the edges, now you want to put just a little tiny bit of brown sugar in here. And this kind of helps them brown up and sweeten up some thyme in there too. You want these just cooked enough onions with kind of char on the outside. That's what's going to get you this mélange of flavors, Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude to the French there. So batch one is done here. Let's take it out of the pan. Put your pan back. And then let's get to the second batch of onions. They'll go a little faster than the first because your pan is probably hotter. Listen, smell, react. If it smells burning, move it. If it smells caramely, you're on the right track. If it smells raw, turn the heat up. So now we're going to do the peppers. So let's add some more oil to the pan. Again, another teaspoon, maybe a tiny bit more. And the peppers are easier because we're not going to add anything to them except for a little bit of salt at the beginning. You don't really want it to begin smoking, so get the peppers right there when you put the oil on. Careful. A little bit of salt. The onions took about, I'd say, 6 to 8 minutes. The peppers will take more like 3 to 5 minutes. And I'm going to move them around because they have less moisture in them. So this is about the place where you want the peppers to be. And you just got a little bit of char on the outside and you're not worried about them totally being cooked through, but it's just that char that we want. Now we have our onions and our peppers all in here. And notice there's a fair amount of oil that's in here because, we've had to keep re-wetting the pan. Yeah? So you don't want to put too much oil in with the tomatoes because you got enough already. And we're going to put all our tomatoes in now. I had water in there, I'm sorry. So why did I switch to the pot? It's only because my pot had a smaller bottom that I didn't use it for the peppers. I want a lot of surface area. So when I put everything together, the rim on this guy is not high enough. Really, I would do the whole thing in the Dutch oven if I could. So the tomatoes were cooking down on medium-high heat. I probably should have described that first, but sometimes you just don't get it right. So we got our cherry tomatoes. They're broken down a little bit more. And I can like smush them a little bit, and they have a delightful little gentle pop if I press on them. Oh, it's so satisfying. Oh my God, it feels so good. Oh, better than sex. So I want you to be a little bit less reliant on precise measurements of spices. When you're working with spice blends, the flavor is going to depend a lot on the person who blended the spices, or the company. I guess I shouldn't treat companies like people. I'm going to say just general guidelines, start with about 1.5 tablespoons, but to prove to you that it doesn't matter that much to me, I'm going to use a regular spoon for this. So I don't really know how much I'm putting in. I'm just proving I have to taste it to decide what I like and what I don't. Put one of those in, and then maybe half of that much more. And we're gonna stir that in with just the tomatoes. Sniff. Yeah, I need a little more in there. So we're gonna up it to the starting point of about 2 tablespoons of berbere. And at this point, you're gonna wanna put in about a half cup of water. So we'll do that. And so you have more like a, I don't know, what's that, like pasta sauce consistency?
Yeah, like a loose tomato sauce.
Yeah, like a loose tomato sauce. And then you're gonna pour in the goodies. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's good. Stir it all around. Now you're just gonna add water until it reaches that pasta sauce consistency again. And then we'll just let it simmer for about 15 minutes. This is about where we want it. So I'm gonna taste it, make sure that it is salty enough and that it is spicy enough. Ooh, that's really good. It's got a nice heat level to it. I like it where it just doesn't attack you when it starts, but it kind of just gets that low burn. So we're not gonna use all the silken tofu because there's only one vegan eating with us today. Say hi.
Hello.
So I'm gonna take about a quarter of this, I think is about right. Yeah, wouldn't you say? Cool. So we'll take about a quarter of it. To make it crumble out of soft tofu, you just kind of smash it in your fingers. And then I'm gonna press a little bit of moisture out of it, just because then it'll reabsorb more flavors from the shak. So I'm gonna turn down my shakshuka to very low. We're gonna spoon some of it into a separate vegan pot. This is about a quarter cup of tofu and about a cup and a half of shakshuka. It doesn't really matter, you know? And just stir it around a little bit. And you just kind of want to let it sit in there and just absorb some of that flavor. So traditionally, at this point, what you would do is poach eggs inside of the shakshuka. Don't bother doing that. I think it's best to do this by frying an egg and gingerly placing it on top of a small bowl of shakshuka. That's really the way to go. It just gives you the most flexibility, and I really don't think that poaching the egg makes that much of a difference in the egg's flavor. So we got the vegetarian version going. I'm about to fry an egg for you right now, live on camera. Yes, one of the rarest things that anyone has ever done. Get hot, you're not hot. That's what Alex tells me every morning. Once the pan starts to get medium to medium highs, kind of between the two, just crack your egg, drop it in there. So I'll put the lid on, set a timer for about 1 minute and 20 seconds. Let's spoon some of our shakshuka into our bowl. Oh, beautiful. Oh, look at that, it's so nice now. Swoosh, plop it on top. Color contrast is really good. So if you've got a dish and it's all reds and white, it's really beautiful to put a little green on top. So let's put some parsley on there. Oh, look at that. Now it looks fancier. And why not? A crack of pepper. Looking real nice. Let's take a taste. Get a little bit of everything together here. I'm gonna wipe off my shakshuka stash. That's really fantastic. I think what comes through the most is how sweet peppers and onions get when you cook them down. There's the sweet and spicy and stewy, and the egg makes it rich, and the bread, I mean, who doesn't love bread? So, make some shakshuka. Is that pretty good?
Yeah, how's it taste?
It tastes incredible. Yeah, this is one of the best shakshukas I've made. Yeah, you want to fry up some eggs? You're a tiger, wow. You're gonna stalk me, wow. I'm your prey, I'm a little bunny rabbit. And you're a jaguar. That's not even the same ecosystem, whatever. So me waving a knife around is probably not something you should do. What does that remind you of? When do you have time to eat like stewed stuff with eggs?
I never eat stewed stuff with eggs.
Okay, sorry, you're right. Yeah, I didn't need that flourish. I could have just dropped it in, but it's not about fanciness or putting on airs. It's about knowledge. I don't have that either. You know what? I'm only going to use half of this. I don't even think we need the whole thing. You cool with that? Kind of looks like a vampire sucked all the brown out of a turd.